I caught my girlfriend cheating with my best friend. Instead of blowing up, I played the long game and orchestrated a chance encounter that made their secret affair implode all on its own. I don't know if what I did was right, but sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't a scream or a fight. It's just giving people enough rope to hang themselves with. I guess I was just tired of being the nice guy everyone walks all over. My name is Mark, and I'd been with Sarah for almost 3 years. We were that couple, you know the one, the Instagram perfect pair with the matching Halloween costumes and the Uishmush relationship goals captions. We had a shared friend group, we talked about getting a dog, and I was genuinely sure we were building a future together. We'd even started vaguely browsing Zillow for houses. I believed in it all. Man, was I blind. It started with the little things. Sarah started having more late nights at the office. Her phone, which used to lie around on the coffee table, was now always face down and glued to her hip. And then there was the new work husband, a guy named Tyler. She talked about him constantly. Tyler is so hilarious. Tyler has the best taste in music. Tyler and I grabbed lunch. He's just so easy to talk to. I'm not a jealous guy by nature, and I trusted her. Fool. If it weren't for my buddy, Jake, I might never have known. Jake and I have been tight since college. He called me up one night and said, "Hey, let's grab a beer. I need to talk to you about something." At the sports bar, he fidgeted with his coaster and said, "Look, man, I don't want to be that guy, but I was at the Oak Room last night. I saw Sarah with some dude. They were in a booth, and they were close. Real close." My stomach dropped. I tried to play it cool. "Probably just a work thing." I shrugged. Jake just shook his head. "Didn't look like any work dinner I've ever seen, bro." That's when I started paying attention. I noticed she liked every single one of Tyler's Instagram posts, even the dumb ones of his latte art. I saw the way she smiled at her phone when a text from him came in. And then one night, she left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I couldn't help myself. I picked it up. It was locked. But then, a notification popped up on the screen from Instagram. "Tyler, can't wait for Saturday." Counting the hours. That was it. Something inside me just snapped. The hot, blinding rage cooled into this icy, terrifying calm. A confrontation, yelling, throwing her out. That felt too easy, too predictable. They'd just end up together, painting me as the crazy, controlling ex, and live happily ever after. No, I wanted something else. I wanted their little, secret, perfect world to crumble, not because of me, but because of who they really were. I decided to play the game. I became the perfect boyfriend TM. Even more supportive, even more understanding. I told Sarah how proud I was of her career hustle, how glad I was she had a great friend like Tyler at work. I even suggested, "Hey, why don't you invite Tyler and his girlfriend to join us for trivia night sometime? It'd be fun." She'd get flustered, mumble something about not wanting to impose on our couple time. Oh, how noble. The plan came together perfectly. Tyler's birthday was in 3 weeks. Sarah told me she had a work retreat at a lakeside cabin for the weekend. Perfect. I knew the birthday party was at his apartment. His neighbor, a guy named Chris, was an old frat brother of my cousin. A few casual texts later, and I had the intel. It was going to be a big rager, like 30 people. Meanwhile, Sarah had told me it was just a small, casual thing with a few co-workers. Lie upon lie. The night of her retreat, I played my part flawlessly. I kissed her goodbye, told her to have a great time. The second her Uber pulled away, I got ready. I threw on a dark hoodie, a beat-up baseball cap, and drove across town. I waited in the shadows of the apartment building across the street. My heart wasn't pounding from nerves. It was pounding from anticipation. After about an hour, I saw them. Sarah and Tyler came out the front door to smoke. They were laughing. His arm was around her waist, and she leaned into him. They looked like a real couple. I took out my phone and started recording. This wasn't evidence for a confrontation. This was my prop. The climax came about 2 hours later. The party was in full swing. I saw a car pull up and a woman got out holding a clumsily wrapped present. I recognized her. It was Chloe, Tyler's ex-girlfriend, the one he'd told Sarah he had zero contact with. Judging by the determined look on her face, she had been invited and was clearly not over him. This was my moment. I crossed the street and reached the lobby door just as she was walking in. We entered together. She didn't even glance at me. In the elevator, I said, "Here for Tyler's party." She nodded, looking nervous. I gave her a warm smile. "Cool. I have a feeling it's going to be a memorable one." We got off on his floor. The apartment door was slightly ajar, music and loud chatter spilling out into the hallway. I let Chloe go in first, and I lingered in the doorway. Chloe walked into the living room. I saw her scan the crowd. her eyes landing on Sarah and Tyler. They were on the couch. Sarah's head was on his shoulder. His hand was on her knee. It was way too intimate for co-workers. Tyler. Chloe's voice was small and shaky. He spun around. His face went white. Chloe, what are you doing here? You invited me. For your birthday, she said, holding up the gift. Sarah pulled away from Tyler, her face a mask of confusion and dawning horror. Tyler, what is this? You said you guys weren't talking anymore. And that's when I made my move. I stepped fully into the apartment and took off my cap. Hey, honey, there you are, I said, my voice cheerful and loud enough to cut through the music. The room fell silent for a beat. All eyes were on us, on Sarah, pale as a ghost, on Tyler, who looked like he'd seen one, and on me, standing there with a calm, friendly smile. Mark, Sarah gasped. Sorry to crash, babe. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd surprise my amazing girlfriend and her great friend, I said, walking toward the couch. I looked right at Tyler. Happy birthday, man. Sarah talks about you all the time. I just had to come wish you well in person. Then I turned to Chloe. And you must be Chloe. Tyler's mentioned you. He said you were really special. The effect was like a bomb going off in slow motion. Tyler started sputtering, trying to form words but only producing gibberish. Sarah was staring at him, her eyes wide with betrayal. Chloe, putting it all together, that she'd been invited as a pawn while he had his real girlfriend here, threw her present on the floor. You're a disgusting liar, she spat. She turned and stormed out. A heavy, awkward silence fell over the party. Everyone was staring at our little drama. I leaned down close to Sarah and Tyler, my voice low so only they could hear. You know that trip to Cancun I was planning for us next month? The one I surprised you with? I already put down the deposit. But I think you should go with Tyler instead. I hear he's a lot of fun to travel with. Right, buddy? I didn't wait for an answer. I just turned around and walked out. As I left, my elbow accidentally knocked a framed photo of the two of them from a small table by the door. The glass shattered on the floor. I didn't look back. Sarah came home the next morning. She tried to explain. She cried. She said it was a mistake, that he'd confused her. I just listened. And then I said, you know what the funniest part is? You two didn't even make it through the night. He was texting Chloe while you were in the bathroom, making excuses, telling her you threw yourself at him and he didn't know how to say no. The look on her face was priceless. She realized I hadn't just caught them. I had destroyed the very foundation of their love, the secrecy and the illusion. I showed her who he really was, a coward, and I showed him that his perfect secret girlfriend was just another part of his web of lies. We broke up. She moved in with a friend for a while. I heard through the grapevine that they had a massive blowout fight. A week later, he blamed her for not being discreet enough, and she blamed him for being a spineless liar. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far, but then I remember her lying next to me in bed, telling me what a great friend Tyler was, and I know I didn't. Sometimes the best revenge isn't screaming or smashing things. It's just holding up a mirror and letting people see their own ugly reflection. After that, they can never look at each other the same way again. And you know what? I sleep just fine.
Second story. My boyfriend lied about work meetings and was secretly seeing a coworker. I found out through social media and confronted him silently at a work happy hour. Just stood there and let his own lies collapse in front of him. Didn't yell, didn't argue, just walked away. I never thought I'd be that girlfriend, the one who snoops, who double-checks things, who starts connecting dots that maybe shouldn't be connected. But honestly, sometimes the only way to stay sane is to stop pretending you don't see what's right in front of you. My boyfriend Ryan and I had been together for almost 2 years. We met through mutual friends, and for a long time I thought I'd hit the jackpot. He was calm, funny, reliable, the kind of guy who never raised his voice or picked fights. And I used to think that meant he was emotionally mature. Now I realize it mostly meant he avoided accountability like the plague. The first 6 months were great. Weekend trips, lazy brunches, movie nights, all the cliché stuff, but in a sweet way. Then things started to shift. He got busy with work, started guarding his phone like it was national security, and stopped sharing the little things about his day. He'd brush off my questions with, "You worry too much, or can't you just trust me for once?" And I did. For a while. I told myself I was being paranoid, that work stress can make people distant, but the inconsistencies started piling up. He'd say he was working late, but his coworkers' Instagram stories showed them out for drinks, no Ryan in sight. He mentioned meeting an old college friend one weekend, but that guy lives across the country. Little things, but enough to make my stomach twist. When I finally confronted him, he got defensive. Classic gaslighting. Why are you so controlling? You're imagining things. You're gonna drive me away if you keep this up. And I actually felt guilty, like I was the problem. Fast forward to a random Tuesday. He texted me from work saying he forgot his charger at my apartment and asked if I could drop it off. Normally, he never wanted me anywhere near his office. Too boring, too corporate, he'd say. But this time, he sounded weirdly okay with it. So I went. He met me outside within 2 minutes, super jittery, glancing over his shoulder like a spy in a bad movie. "Thanks, babe," he said, giving me a quick kiss. "I'd invite you up, but we're in the middle of a big meeting." Something about that didn't sit right. His meeting excuse had become his Swiss Army knife of lies. It fit every situation. That night, I was scrolling through Instagram and found a post from his company's account. A group photo, posted 30 minutes after I saw him. There was Ryan, sitting in a conference room with his team, and right next to him, laughing with her hand on his shoulder, was the new girl he'd mentioned a few times. Emily. The caption said, "Team goals." The photo disappeared an hour later. I took screenshots, of course. And then I decided to wait. A few days later, his office threw a team happy hour at a local bar. He told me it was just co-workers, super casual, you'd be bored. I said okay, but I already had a plan. My best friend came with me. We walked in like we just happened to be grabbing drinks there. It didn't take long to spot him. Ryan was at a table near the back, drink in hand, Emily sitting on his lap, not beside him, on his lap. Everyone around them was laughing like it was the most normal thing in the world. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want yelling or tears. I just wanted him to see what I saw, to feel that cold punch of realization that the game was over. I stood by the bar, ordered a drink, and texted him. "Hey, how's that meeting going? Tell your team goals." I said hi. He looked down at his phone, then up across the room, right at me. The color drained from his face. It was glorious. He got up immediately, stammering, "It's not what it looks like." We were all joking around. I just smiled and said, "You might want to work on your stories, Ryan. This one's getting old." And then I left, quietly. No drama, no shouting, no tears. The silence was my revenge. He tried calling, then texting, then apologizing. The messages went from "you're overreacting" to "please just hear me out" to "I made a mistake." I didn't reply. Not once. A week later, he posted one of those dramatic breakup quotes on his story. Something like, "Sometimes you lose the person who made you feel whole." I actually laughed. A mutual friend told me later that Emily quit a few weeks after everything blew up. Apparently she didn't know he had a girlfriend either. So in the end, he lost both of us, and probably a chunk of his office reputation too. There's this weird kind of peace that comes when you stop trying to prove someone's lying. Because once you see it, really see it, the need for proof just evaporates. Now, whenever someone says, "You shouldn't go through your partner's stuff," if you need to, that means you don't trust them, I think. No. Sometimes you just finally trust yourself.